as your children become adults, you see and you understand how they are a product of your love, but unfortunately, they are a product of your errors. And so you just hope that there will be an understanding that you can work together on those errors.
Welcome to the Unaparent podcast, the place that delivers deeply human stories about the unapparent truths of parenting. My name is Katia Reguero Lindor, and I am your host. Join us as we debunk myths surrounding parenthood and provide an empathetic, judgment-free space for parents and parents to be. We hope you enjoy the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. So I had my mom on an episode in Spanish last season, and I decided to bring her back for an English episode since I do have a lot of listeners who don't speak Spanish. So this is my mom, Maria Luisa Inserni. Hi, Mom.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us again. My mom lives in Puerto Rico, so whenever she visits, I'm able to do these in-person interviews. So today's conversation, I think, is going to be less structured than I typically do them. I think I just want to have a conversation with my mom about motherhood, and now she's a grandma, so that perspective is always interesting to me now that I'm a mom, and I've only ever known my mom as mom, but now she's grandma to my kids. So yeah, Mom, I want to start by asking you, what are the top three, if you can narrow it down to three, most difficult experiences you faced as a mom?
Okay. I have to say, obviously, the difficulty arises always from that mental state that you're in, right? And so initially, I have to say, just getting pregnant was monumental. I did not feel at the time that I was ready for the responsibility, which to me, as you know, your grandmother, it was always so huge. So just from the get-go, just becoming a mother was like, that was a major difficult experience. I was, finishing law school. I was studying for the bar. And it was a crazy time to get pregnant, obviously not planned. And so it was a big shift. And once again, internally, mainly, then obviously what follows is the physical, which is in itself just a major adventure. But I have to say, facing your own fears as a parent, once again, we go to that mental state, becomes what's most difficult about parenting. So you're facing your own fears, with your children, especially. And how to deal with your own fears as you're dealing with what you do fear was one of those also major experiences. Of course, as you go throughout life, you're dealing with your fears and obviously trying to heal them, right?
And not projecting them onto your children.
Yes.
That's the hardest part, I would say.
Yes. That's also, yes, definitely a major component, because you don't want to do that. At the same time, you're learning to deal with them yourself. And it is a process to heal them. I think as we all know, it's a human experience. And so dealing with moments of their suffering, whether emotionally or physically, I would say would be the next hardest experience, especially when you feel helpless. And I go not just to the physical, probably even more when you're dealing with the mental and the emotional. It's just a feeling of helplessness. Wow, it really grabs at you. And those are probably what I would have to say among the myriad of experiences. But once again, I say, it comes from your own mental state. I would have loved to have been a very wise and a free person, free from my own mental, as I say, all that mental, the issues that you carry, you project onto your kids, and you don't want to do that. Okay, so it's dealing with your own self. Your children bring you face to face with yourself. If you are open to being honest, okay, because once again, we get involved in the rat race of life, in the society that we live in, especially. You wake up and you go through your day doing what you have to do, but having the awareness to simply stop and say, wait a minute, is this really what I want? Because I'm projecting the effects of all of this onto my family. So it's a whole it's really an inner journey. It really is.
And I talked to my therapist a lot about how I wasn't aware that I had so many fears and anxieties until I had kids, right?
Yeah.
Because I think we've talked about how, it's not like they weren't there. Like they've been there, probably maybe dormant or not completely conscious of them. But when kids come along, it's like you're just faced with all of these realities, like these fears and insecurities and anxieties that you didn't previously know you had. And it's really hard coming to terms with that when you're responsible for other people's lives, like a little person's life.
For sure. And hopefully you take it as the opportunity to heal.
Yeah.
But that in itself is a process.
It's a process.
And by then your kids have become parents themselves, and here we are as we are right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but anyway, once again, as I say, learning to understand our what we are, because essentially that is the question. What do I want to teach my kid that we are, that she or he is? It's always that basic question. Do we get caught up in all of this rat race and all of this, all of the demands that, are set upon us for really a definition of what my child is? That's a big question.
Answering that is a hard one too.
Yeah.
I think the first step is, as you said, asking that question and figuring out the answer, and then how you go about raising your kids will kind of follow that. But it's hard because day-to-day life gets in the way, right? You're overwhelmed and overstimulated, and at the time, I guess you don't have the space to maybe like step back and think, okay, I just remember you being so busy when we were little and growing up, and knowing that you had a million and one things to do. You homeschooled us and you cooked, and like what a stereotypical housewife was on steroids. I feel like you did way more than what a lot of people do, because you just took on the burden of every single thing in our household. And then additional to that, our education, and that included, the violin, which was 2 hours away, and then our sports, and we were 3 kids, and the animals, because we had animals, and just so much, that I can't imagine you had much mental space to deal with so much of the internal baggage that as kids we don't see that. I see that now because I'm living it. But growing up, I don't think of that.
Right.
And I have mentioned before how you taking a pause and resting was so rare. I mean, at least when I was like awake. I'm sure you woke up early, and I know you've meditated and stuff. Maybe I wasn't around to see that as much. But I remember your few moments of leisure where you were lying in bed reading a book. I thought you were like on your deathbed, like dying. Because I'm like, oh no, she must be critically ill if she is lying down and reading for pleasure, So I remember that being super rare, and me now thinking like, I hope my kids don't think, or I hope they can see that that's important too, taking a rest and a pause and time for yourself if you can afford it, right? I know there's many situations in life that leisure might equal privilege, but it's so important, I think, for not only your mental health but your physical health to be able to find spaces to just take a pause and take a breather and
Well, I'll tell you,
fill your cup.
if I may say, one of the questions that I know is coming up is, what advice I would have. And truthfully, looking back with this whirlwind of activity in our lives, one advice I would say is just find quietude. And it really, yes, definitely privilege puts you at another level because it frees you of that time in which you can actually dedicate to your kids. But even when you are maybe a single parent, you're holding 2 or 3 jobs, it is essential that you find with your children quietude and a moment to truly just, I think nature helps because it tends to bring down vibrations. We live in such a whirlwind of activity. And that wasn't just me. I know that perhaps I went overboard because I tend to overdo, I tend to over everything. And once again, I'm trying to heal all of that. And I'm sorry you guys received that baggage. But in all honesty, and I hope you will be able to heal it, but if you could find time to be with nature, with your pets, just quietude every single day. And just allow all of that noise to settle down and be with your child. Just enjoy the moment. So anyway.
Those were I think living in Puerto Rico, specifically in Aguadilla where we lived, was one of those just not even a blessing in disguise, a very overt, obvious blessing to me even then that we had, the beach there, we had nature readily available. Right. So different from where I'm living now, living in a city, right? Like a big metropolitan city that I didn't grow up with. But that seems just so much easier and more accessible, like living in a place like where I grew up, And I remember those moments in, just nature being really enjoyable. It wasn't coming from a place of intentional, go out in nature. It was just kind of part of our life, and I loved it. So, I'm not a fan of lizards and snakes and stuff. So, living in Puerto Rico, we didn't have poisonous animals. Now here in the States, I think about that twice, but definitely want to make it a point to do more of that with my kids.
Yeah. I mean, you see the competitiveness in everything as your kids are growing up, whether it's sports, whether it's in the arts, whether it's academics. As I say, there are just so many stressful components that really, really heighten. Once again, I go to vibration levels because that's the truth. Finding that, allowing your children to understand, first of all, the importance of it, but then giving them the tools to later on in life analyze whether having that lifestyle where you have to be the best, where you have to climb, where you have to have the best, you have to be the most, whether it's really worth it, whether, you give them the tools to actually sit back and question that. Is this what I want? So, yeah.
And all your kids are different. So, at least, you gave them the tools and they can make the decision
exactly
for themselves, right?
Exactly.
So did you have another difficult, challenging, experience that you can think of?
Well, as adults, as young adults, maybe, difficult, I guess, inevitable, but trying to find that balance between your will as young adults and your will as a parent. So, that's a hard one.
That's where I'm struggling right now.
Yeah. And your kids are still kids.
I know, they're little.
Wait till they're young adults.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the little kid phase is uniquely difficult because it's like you literally can't leave their side without them potentially harming themselves, So it's that constant vigilance where it's just nonstop, in a very tangible way where you literally have to be hands on nonstop.
Yeah.
I know, physically nonstop. Later on, I know it's like the mental nonstop is always going to be the case. As you say, once a mom, always a mom, right? Them going off to college doesn't stop your brain from worrying and racing and thinking about them, right? It's in a whole other element of difficulty, which you can attest to, letting go, letting them be young adults and people, and trusting them, driving. I just think of driving. Like, I don't know how you ever let me drive a car. Like, thinking back to when I was like 16, I'm like, how did she let me drive? I would be so worried. And, and that's something that we don't think about as kids, right? Or young adults or whatever. We're in our selfish era. But as parents, it's like, how do you let go enough to let them be their own people? That is a hard one that I'm already like, I'm not there yet. And I'm already like dreading that moment when I have to let go.
Yeah. Yes, giving them wings. It's like your main responsibility as a parent is helping them to become independent. And so, yeah, there has been difficulty where that's concerned, I have to say. And yeah, you just pray. There's a point where once they're adults, that pretty much you can just send their vibrations, support them, pray for them. You still worry that they find independence and happiness in their place in life, But once again, we're all on the same journey, And as your children become adults, you see and you understand how you have carried on to them, because yes, they are a product of your love, but unfortunately they are a product of your errors. And so you just hope that there will be an understanding that you can work together on those errors, because we all come with them and we're taught them. We are taught incorrectly, but it's our parents, it's our grandparents, it's the people we love. So we trust them and we take it for granted that we've learned the right lessons. But if we're not happy, if we're not at peace, they were not the right lessons. And so we need to relearn, and we need, as I say, it's a journey we take together. And hopefully, parents and grandparents can continue the journey, because it's really, it's really a journey through life at all levels, and to be able to share it and grow together as you heal together, that's just the biggest blessing. Yeah.
Maybe you're alluding to, right, some of that or have been, but what would you say are some of the most valuable lessons that motherhood has brought you?
Yes, our children are our teachers, okay? And never take that for granted, even when especially when they're little, innocent, extremely brutally honest kids. They are our teachers. And once again, it's an internal journey, because they make you face yourself, right? And so I guess I would just repeat what I just said. Perhaps the joy in parenting, which I know becomes overshadowed with the difficulties and all of the traumas that come with it, is really being able to, at the end of the day, just grow together. Honestly.
Yeah.
Any
other valuable lessons that we have taught you unintentionally?
Yes, I obviously. It's a lifetime. It's a whole learning process. But yes, you have learned. You have taught me to face, perhaps, these over tendencies. Obviously, you have been the biggest teachers, you and your dad. So perhaps the biggest lesson that, it's just so many. I don't think I can single out a lesson. Katia, honestly, there's just too many, and they all seem valuable. But perhaps the biggest lesson that my children have taught me has been perhaps the importance of healing. How essential it is.
Yeah. And like you probably including in that is the generational traumas that we inherit.
Definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, for sure. And when I say growing together, that's precisely what I mean. It's just, it's family and life stories that, they come together and they continue to come together. And healing is what it's about, really.
Yeah. Would you say that, well, since you have 3 kids and we're all, very different, in what ways do you feel that we've been, like, how do I word this? Have we been able to cohesively teach you the same types of lessons, or have our unique personalities taught you different lessons?
Yeah, both. I think collectively, yes, and very much so individually. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're 3 unique, beautiful individuals who have had 3 times, how many times multiplied lessons, beautiful lessons to teach me. Yeah.
Do you care to give an example of any particular lesson? It could be me, so that we don't single out my siblings, since they didn't agree to be on blast here.
Sure. You put me on the spot. All right, sunshine. Yes, definitely. Lifestyles at the end of the day are reflections of personal choices, right? That not necessarily indicate a choice that has been taken consciously, right, to either imitate or to go against. It's a personal expression. And you and I have had we lead very different lifestyles, and I admire how you're able to handle your lifestyle. You talk so much about my lifestyle, and basically the whirlwind of activity that it's just you don't relate to at all, right? And I see your lifestyle and your engagements, and it's very different to mine. It's not that I don't relate to it, but at the same time, I think, what a blessing that we can actually share these differences even as adults, because once again, we have a lot in common, and we also have a lot of things that are very different. And that's, obviously one of these differences has been reflected in your lifestyle. And it's a very different one to mine. And it just, to me, it brings a lot of admiration for the differences, because you say that you're not able to do all of this that I was able to do, but my love, you do a lot more in different ways of things that I would never be able to do. So power to you, and once again, there's just that beauty in being able to learn with each other,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think for me, one of the, I guess you can, I don't know if you felt this way, like growing up with your mom, right? But, and I think this is pretty common with, offspring, and then especially when they become parents, it's hard not to compare yourself to your own parents, in many ways.
Yeah.
And I think one of my biggest lessons has been not comparing myself to you or your methods or your ways, because obviously I think you did so many things right. And so it wouldn't be like a bad thing for me to aspire to be, like you. And at the same time, because we are different people, we have different personalities, and we will have raised kids in totally different lifestyles. That plays into or informs a lot about, the kind of upbringing we're going to provide for our children, and the kinds of roles I will occupy that you didn't, and vice versa. And so it's a lot less about what I do or don't do. And it's a lot more about like the values I'm able to instill in my kids, right? Despite or in spite of the lifestyle that I'm giving them, that's totally different from the lifestyle we had when I was growing up, right?
Exactly.
So, lot of.
Let me tell you that I feel so honored that you have wanted to be like me, and I understand we do that. We idolize our parents. I'm just sorry that in a way it also caused you an internal conflict because of our differences. I wish it had not been that way, and I hope it won't be that way ever again. Because we are very much alike in some ways and very much different in other ways. But I never want that to create conflicts for you, sweetheart.
Yeah, but it's not your fault. It's not like we want our kids to grow up idolizing us, or we want them to follow in our every single footstep.
Just happens.
I think it's kind of a natural process of growing up and humanizing our parents, like taking them off the pedestal and realizing, they're human. And it's not a matter of like blaming them for their mistakes. It's more like, I can choose my own ways, and it doesn't mean I'm like letting my parents down, or that I'm not adhering to the values that I was taught and that I learned and this and that. So there's a lot of layers to that, and I think just as you learn as you go. Same with like just parenting in life, you learn as you go. There's no pamphlet teaching you or telling you what's the right thing to do, and so for me that's been one of, I think the challenge has been less about I want to be like this, or I want to be like my mom, and I'm not there. It's also like, as you're alluding to with my lifestyle, I think it was a lot easier for me to learn the values you tried to instill, because we lived in a little bit more of a simplistic way, in that what you were teaching us was, I could learn it readily by your example, the way we lived, and so we go back to privilege, and a lot of people tell me, don't worry, like you guys are you guys are great people, you and your husband, you're going to teach your kids just by being who you are, this and that. And so I want that to be I hope that's true. And also I see the difficulties already in simply what they're surrounded by, and just the lifestyle again. And that's something I think I'm open about to people. It's maybe something that's less of a, I don't know, like mainstream topic to talk about. But it's something that I talk about with my therapist a lot. I'm like, how do I ensure that my kids are going to be, humble, good people, and that not just that they don't take for granted, what they have, what they're surrounded by, and all, and just a lot of thoughts that and fears and projections for the future, and there's a lot of you're good people, and you're gonna show them with your example, and you guys are humble and all of this. But at the same time, it's like I can't speak out of experience. I didn't grow up like that, and so I don't know that for a fact. I'm hoping that's true, and I'm hoping I figure it out along the way, and and I'm sure we will.
Well, if I may, I think it all will go back to that definition of your definition of what we are, honestly. And that is the biggest question and the biggest journey, and you're going to do just fine. All right.
Yeah,
you
thanks.
have that golden heart. All right. And you're well guided. So I trust that your children are going to be amazing. They already are. And they're going to be humble. You're also married to a humble person, my love. Now, humility, once again, it's one of those definitions of how we define humans. And humility, some people might think, well, humility is one more of those definitions. But when I tell you figuring out what we are, I don't mean to label. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, again, go back to the definition of things, I think people erroneously perceive humility like, oh, they have, a lot, but they drive like not a nice car.
Right.
Or, oh, they live in like, a little house, and and that's like, that's
false.
It's really what's in your heart, right? That ultimately defines, like, it's your truth, your values, despite what on the outside it may look like, and that's, I think, ultimately what you're going to teach your kids, despite whatever external things
Definitely.
are shown, and so that's something that I'm also like continuing to learn and try to just, I don't know, take away that, because anxieties come from just wanting to control things and not being in
Yes.
control, and then projecting the future and not living in the moment.
For sure.
And that's so much of parenting that you're from the get-go just trying to protect, and so you're trying to prevent, and so you're trying to control, and
It's
so
the
you're
mental.
yeah. It's back to what you said from the very beginning, the mental of everything. So that's a huge life lesson, but also especially particularly in this parenting world where the fears and the anxieties are just so exacerbated by children and the responsibility of raising children.
I would suggest always keep in mind what you want to define yourself, or what we all are, and live in the present. The mind will project, especially as a parent, oh boy, it will project, oh man, the worst case scenario. Yes. So try to stay in the present. It's hard because what we do is project our fears. Our fears come from the past, and our minds are always, but if you can develop the discipline and teach it to your children to stay in the present, you're giving them mental health. It's really important.
I mean, kids usually are in the
They are,
present, right?
exactly.
So they're the best teachers.
Exactly. If they're very, very young.
Little.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let them be your teachers for that too, especially for sure.
Yeah, and my husband is really good at that, I think. He has to be by trade for his profession, and sometimes he's not on on the level of staying present in his job, but in life I feel like he's very good at that.
Yes.
And it's another person I can learn from.
Definitely. Yes. He's an excellent teacher in that respect for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were to give yourself or young mothers advice, now that you are a grandma, you've raised, and now you have grandkids, what would, I don't know, the set of advice be?
Okay. All right. What I just said, definitely. Part of, I guess, my 60-something years of experience has taught me, truthfully, the mind is a beautiful thing, and it needs to be taken care of. Our schools don't do it. Our society doesn't do it. We're living with kids who are they're so anxious. They're depressed. Be aware. Have awareness of how all of these things are affecting your children. As I say, developing those skills requires developing them. And so try to find that space within yourself, because it's essential that you teach it to your child. So if you can, once again, find the tools to make yourself stay in the present, and yes, keep it simple. Truth is simple. Keep it simple. Let vibrations come down so that there is moment to truly share, without all of the externals, and appreciate that above all else. Because you can have a child who's summa cum laude, and you can go to that graduation, and whoa, that's going to really give you pleasure, right? Or you can see your child become a professional athlete and be extremely successful. That's going to make you happy. But what's really going to make you happy is if that adult, that person who is an adult now, is actually peaceful and happy. I mean, he can be the president of the United States, but really inside, what is his internal world to share with the outer world? So anyway, just take the time to have awareness, to think about what all of this that society has imposed on us. What is success? All right? Truly understand as a parent, your success is giving your child peace and mental health and physical health, to be a healthy adult, to make a healthy society, to have healthy leaders, to have a healthy world, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
thank you. I feel like that's a mic drop moment, and I don't know if there's much else that I mean, there's a lot more that you can contribute and share to this conversation, but I'm on my period and I feel like I'm gonna cry some more if we continue. So anyway, Mom, if there's anything else that you want to add?
Just that I love you.
I love you
much.
too. Thank you. Thanks for your wisdom and your knowledge and your time. And I hope everyone enjoyed this episode with my mom.
My honor. Thank you.
Thanks. Bueno, mi gente, gracias, and thank you for listening to this episode of the Unaparent podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe as we release a new episode at least every month with an exciting new guest. Be sure to also follow us on Instagram for all the Unaparent content you never knew you needed.